as of right now, we are live.
We're back at it.
We're back at the show, ladies and gents.
I mean, we never really went away, but we're here. We're focused.
Yeah, we're focused and we're ready to take this to the next level. For those of you who don't know who we are, I'm Louis Jeremita, owner and founder of Primo Tailoring and Aspiring Gent. And today, our guest, no, I'm just kidding, co-host.
Our guest.
This random guy who wanted to talk to me today. Co-host, extraordinaire menswear designer. Who are you?
That isn't that the question. I mean, we're all asking who we are. What is life? What is being? What is existing?
This is taking way too long.
Hey guys, I am Austin of Gentleman's Avenue. I'm also a business partner over here at the menswear. Well, it's a menswear store. We sell men's clothes, and there's menswear involved in it. But I work over here at the Man Shop in Arlington, Texas. I've been here for just started my 5th year, and it's been absolutely awesome. And so, as you know, before, Louis and I have been doing this for a while, and we're just passionate about what we do. And we've got another great banger conversation. And the subject matter we're talking about today is
almost used a bad word. Our forecasting of what we're seeing in the industry for 2022, because whether we like it or not, it's right around the corner. We have about, 3-4 months left?
It's like 3.5 months, which is crazy. It's like 20
into perspective.
It's like 2020 would never end. It felt like 2020 would never end. And then 2021 is like, hey guys, it's New Year's and now it's August.
Well, and I'm sure I can probably share this now on the podcast because we're not going to post this for a little bit, just for editing reasons. But just like the realization that November is coming up that quickly and that I have to have a store open by November, it's a little bit freaking me out. We can talk about it.
You'll be fine, man. You'll be fine.
I talked to your label lady. She seems extremely nice.
Oh, good.
We might be doing some business together, but
get that chatter.
Nothing that you viewers really probably care to know about, but we're buying labels for the new suits we're bringing into the store. So anyways, we're talking about trends. Austin, you just came back from the Dallas market. You got to see a lot of different things, some new things that you guys want to implement into your shop. Me just trying to figure out about my grand opening. I am heavily researching and seeing what is new and going on so that I can implement it into my store. So let's just start off with what are some notable things that you're looking forward to going into 2022 that you think are going to change or that are really prevalent in the menswear industry?
What I think is interesting about the modern male consumer, specifically when it comes to menswear and expression, when it comes to clothing, is that especially with 2020, the time of COVID, people being furloughed, laid off, working remotely, or going into a social distance office, there wasn't a real big push for dressing intentionally. It was more dressing comfortably. And I think what's interesting now is guys have missed dressing up. A lot of guys are going, you know what, I dressed casual before. Now it's just reaffirmed that I just continue to dress casual, which, you know, if that's what works for you, fantastic. But I think a lot of guys have missed dressing up, putting on tailored clothing, or, you know, a nicer pair of jeans, or getting out of your stretchy pants, which make you feel like everything is right in the world, even though it's not. And we've all put on a little bit of weight and had to let out those pants, which is great for Primo Tailoring, which
Absolutely.
I'll bet. But I think, you know, going into market, we are seeing, you know, guys have the money and they want to spend it. And it's crazy where, you know, you hear people say, oh, well, I'm not wearing a suit anymore. One of our biggest sellers right now is custom suits and sport coats, where, you know, guys have the time to wait a little bit, but they want something that's very intentional and well fitted to them. And even so, going specifically into market, I saw things that were much more extravagant than the selections before. Like I saw camp collar shirts with these beautiful prints that were like made in Italy, and there were these short sleeve shirts that were like $300, and they sold. It's not something that we carry, but I definitely looked at it and I thought it was super cool. And luxury sportswear is becoming a little bit more prevalent too. These flanneled, quilted zip vests, and things like that we have coming in now. It's interesting to see that men seem to be much more comfortable with dressing in a more intentional and maybe you may even say extravagant manner than what they wore before, a simple polo with their khakis and a pair of loafers. Now they're like, I want to wear checks, I want to wear plaids, give me a pink shirt, give me a red striped shirt, things like that men weren't comfortable with wearing before. And not just in tailored clothing, even in their casual and their sportswear.
Absolutely. Now, before we hang on to that, can you hear a fan in the background from me?
I can't.
Okay, because
I hear something,
okay,
but not really.
Give me 1 second. I'm going to turn this fan off and turn off this loud noise I totally forgot to do before we recorded.
You were hitting the zoomies.
You saw that? Oh,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
so embarrassed. Anyway, so
you were
going
to eat it.
I was trying to jump over this cord to the light, which would have been really bad if I missed, which also would have been embarrassing because I can't jump over a cord that's 2 inches off the ground. However, I like what you said, for one main fact that I'm trying to get into the luxury space. But what do you think is driving the need for luxury? I mean, we're seeing all kinds of supply chains being destroyed and garments not coming in on time, and fabric mills not making fabric, suit manufacturers not fabricating suits. What do you think that pushes for a higher level rather than just getting whatever they can?
I think part of it is financial retention. A lot of guys have really held off on purchasing. So some guys were sitting on a nest egg and they wanted to buy something a little better, and maybe something that they were thinking about before. I mean, there's this one guy who's very particular about his clothes, and whenever it makes an investment specifically with tailored pieces, he takes a long time to decide, which again is not a bad thing. He's just very particular about what he wants. And so before, he would buy the suits that were about 900 or 1200, and now he's looking at a black pattern suit from Dorme, and he's also looking at some Loro Pianas that are 26, almost $3,200. And I think part of that had to do with, he wanted something nicer. He's felt the better goods, and he kind of wanted to move on from there.
Now, how involved are your typical custom customers? Like, are they heavily involved in picking the patterns and the fabrics, or are most of them kind of like, I'll let you kind of figure that out?
I have a lot of guys who are that way. I take care of some guys at a higher end car dealership out in Dallas, and the general manager treats them anytime like they break a record or they had a good month or a good quarter, and he goes, I'm going to treat them to a couple of suits. I said, okay. So the last time they came in, I pretty much know what they want, so I just lay out some fabrics. And the last time they came in, they were there maybe 15-20 minutes, maybe. And so they came in, I had the fabrics, and I was said, hey, this is what I'm thinking for you. I know we did this lining last time, so let's do this. We did a peak lapel last time, we can do a notch, or we did the notch, let's do the peak lapel. And when it came to button and, picking out a shirt fabric, they just went, I'll pick the fabric and the lining, you pick everything else. So some guys are a little particular. I have very few guys who care about, do I want a 2mm pick stitch, or do I want a 6mm? Do I want a pocket on my dress shirt, or do I want a short sleeve? I think most of our guys care, but not too much.
Because the reason why I ask that is I think a lot of people, at least, let me pull this a little bit closer to myself. At least for what I am seeing is most of the people are just like, I don't want to think about it, at least for the people coming into my shop. I had a guy today who had a bad experience with a local menswear store, and he was like, I don't know where to get good suits. And I was like, well, I sell them. So get them with me. And he's like, oh,
Yeah.
that'd be perfect. He's like, I'm thinking even maybe buying like 2 or 3 of them. Like I'll come in, you can kind of tell me what you think would look good. We'll put an order together. And if I like you, I'll bring a lot of people your way. And I think kind of that thought process of, I don't need to worry about it, I don't need to focus on it, is kind of appealing to him, just because, I mean, why the heck not? Like, he can focus on the other things. He's a small business owner. He owns actually 2 small businesses. So I guess that would make him a medium business owner. But he's like, I just don't want to think about it. I want you to come in and I want to do it for you. I want you to do it for me, which is not something you traditionally get with your run of the mill Banana Republic or even Suit Supply sometimes, where it's like fat suits on the shelf. Like, you're kind of stuck with what they have if you're looking for something pretty quickly, like where you have a custom shop where all you really do is custom. It's like you're coming in intentionally, like you said, you have this reserve of cash, um, and you don't really want to have to worry about picking out all the details. You want someone else to do that for you.
I think one thing about the male consumer is that guys don't necessarily want to think a lot about their clothes. And it's, if you look at, their butcher, or if you look at their barber, or if you look at their mechanic, it's, my car's not working, fix it.
Yeah.
My hair looks crazy, cut it. I need a steak. Can you cut me a piece? Something like that. So a lot of guys want, kind of want to subcontract that out, and they'll have little choices like, oh, I may want this, but we are the experts, and they have a problem and we need to solve it. Listen while my DJ revolve it. Dum, 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 dum. I'm sorry, I'm gonna stop that.
Oh, I love it. Don't stop that. That's what this podcast is made for. But where were we anyways? Change of topic. Let's get the attention off me.
So I think one thing that one thing we're beginning to see more is, before we had one athleisure, athletic kind of workout brand, and now we have 3 of them. So which is what's interesting is that it's not that guys are buying less tailored clothing and then more athleisure. It's like they're buying more athleisure and more tailored clothing. They're buying more sportswear and more shoot. It's like it feels like everything has increased. And so there's a lot of products that we can't really keep on the shelf. I mean, we were trying to buy some polos, a couple months ago, and we were buying anything that we could buy. We typically don't buy horizontal stripe polos. We're loaded with them on our wall right now, just because we were trying to get anything. So it's interesting to see how, the supply chain is affecting so many industries that's caused the demand for other things to go up. People are like, I need new clothes. We're like, we have these. Okay, cool. It's new. I need something new.
So are you buying, so is it a mixture of both? Like, the supply chain didn't have the polos you wanted mixed with just the amount of that people were buying? That's why you just kind of just got whatever you could? Or was it like just people were buying too much, or just like kind of the supply chain?
I'd say it's a little bit of, a little mixture of both. Of,
Okay.
The supply chain was just, we were trying to keep anything on the shelf, and people were just buying. And so unfortunately, people were saying, oh, well, can you order this in my size? And where before, where it was a stocked garment, go, yeah, we can get that in for you. Then we would just tell them up front, listen, this is probably going to be back ordered or it's out of stock, but we'll do whatever we can. And that's not a conversation you want to have with your clients, because you want to be able to provide.
Absolutely.
But I think people understood in the real estate market, the automotive industry, people understood that supply and demand was just so skewed.
Yeah. And it's crazy because everybody says it. It's kind of like the phrase you say now, like, every industry is affected by COVID, but it is crazy. Like, I was having a conversation with a guy the other day, and he was talking about the chicken wing shortage that we're facing. And I was like, huh? He's like, yeah, like, bars and restaurants can't get chicken wings and there's not enough of them. And it was funny because, like, right after, me and the family were trying to get some chicken wings ordered, and it was like $50 for like 20 of them. And it was like,
Yeah.
I'm not paying $50 for 20 chicken wings, but like, you don't think about the fact that like chickens are in high demand right now. Or
Yeah.
like the car industry, like used cars and new cars are hard to find. So all the prices are jacked. And it's kind of the same in this situation, I mean, right now with Italy hasn't been making the fabrics because their mills are off, and China is taking time off from all of their production naturally. So it's like, how do we keep customers satisfied and looking for that new thing when we're in a climate where we don't know if that new thing's going to be available?
So one new thing that was presented to us specifically that I was not on board with at all, but I did sell it to two clients because they had specifically asked for that. Had they not asked it, I would have not presented it. But we got a new book of these swatches that were wool poly blends.
Ooh,
60% wool,
your
40%
favorite.
polyester. Ugh. Yeah, sure. Let's go with that. But these coats were retailing at 12, almost $1,500. And I called one of the guys, he wasn't like directly our rep, but I called the guy who had sent me those swatch books. And I said, help me wrap my mind around the fact that I'm selling a wool poly blend sport coat for $1,200. And he said, there's Lululemon polyester and there's Walmart polyester. So just like wool has different levels, polyester has different levels. I'm going, okay. And he said, that's kind of where the industry is headed. I said, I hate that and I don't like it. And he goes, I know, we don't like it. And this guy, he and I have a very similar taste in clothes, but he said, yeah, I don't like it either, but that's just kind of where the industry is going. Um, so that was kind of interesting to see how before we had some swatches that, cost $500 or $600 for a custom suit. And it was a wool poly viscose blend. And I'm going, I would never sell this in a million years. And then these new swatches come out and I'm going, well, you can sell it from the perspective of, it's wrinkle resistant. Uh, it looks a little more casual and it goes with those kind of tech stretchy pants that guys like to wear. But that was interesting. And the reason that those were presented is because that there was a wool shortage because mills weren't weaving fabric. So what they had to do was create a synthetic blend and use what they had to blend it together. I go, okay, well, that kind of makes sense. But what's interesting is I'm still not seeing that as much. I mean, even with one of our athleisure brands called Four Laps, it's a great brand. I have some pieces myself. Some of these shirts have wool blended in with them.
Oh, okay. Wool,
Yeah.
like a dress shirt or a sport shirt or
No, it's a t-shirt. No, it's got a
with
t-shirt that's
wool.
got like the little, well, it's not all wool. So it's like a wool spandex poly blend.
Interesting. Normally you hear that as like a cotton blend, but wool.
And typically you would see that in athleisure, but what's great about wool is that it kicks out wrinkles and dries sometimes a little faster than the synthetic blends. And I'm a purist about this stuff, so I try to buy as little synthetic as I can.
Well, and I think that's interesting though, because it's relevant to the topic of what are we seeing happening. And
Yeah,
unfortunately, a lot of times in the industry, especially if you're in the sales side of it, like you and I are, well, you are mostly, and I'm venturing into, um, we can't just sell what we like. And as
true.
much as we would like
Absolutely.
to push that on people, um, we need to sell what people want. And I'm coming to the realization that I am going to have a very heavy all wool presence in my store when I open up, but I think I'm quickly going to need to adjust to the poly techie stuff. Because a lot of the people that I'm going to be servicing, at least in my immediate area, are going to be younger dudes working in a office setting. So if they do come back to work, they're still not scheduled to come into the office yet. So they're either working from home or they're very part time in the office. So they're already, like you said, wearing their stretchy khakis and their
Yep.
Lululemon dress pants. So they're not looking for an all wool sports jacket to pair with it. They're looking for something that's also stretchy, that has sellable features like it's odor resistant, or you don't ever need to iron it, or hey, throw it in the laundry with the rest of your clothes. Like they're kind of looking for that gimmicky, um, not even necessarily lower price point, but like how much bang for my buck can I get for this? And like we're seeing is a lot of those poly blends are offering that, which again, I never used to be so much of a purist, but once I got into the industry for real, I was like, you know what? Wool is the only way to go. And now that I'm starting up some stuff, I'm like, I think I got to sell some poly because I believe that's going to be where the money is. Obviously, there's always going to be the purists in the city and around surrounding areas that want the nice wool stuff. but I think I need an element of it, but I'm not looking forward to it.
You know, it's funny when you see, and what's weird, on even on my Instagram and Facebook, I'm getting these infomercials about these, new innovative dress shirts that instead of buttons, it's a zip or magnets. Don't you hate when you're getting dressed in the morning and your buttons caused you to be late for that important meeting? You need Magna buttons, a Magna button shirt. I'm like, if buttoning your shirt is causing you to be late, you're horrible at time management.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so it kind of sounds like, remember in the late 90s, early 2000s, the infomercials where, don't you hate when you're on the phone with your mother-in-law and you're trying to water your lawn and you just keep getting tangled up and you suffocate yourself a couple times? Well, you need the zippy tiddly wing dack little phone cord cover thing to make sure this doesn't happen to you. They're creating these issues that aren't issues, but you hear that and you go, oh, that's happened to me before, and that's how it resonates with you. So I mean, I can understand, the quick dry and things like that. But for example, like, you're having a shirt that's a full zip, but you're getting a fake placket that has fake buttons on it. Like what
button it.
It seems like it's almost getting a little lazy. And I saw this guy's like, this suit is uncomfortable, and it actually fit him pretty well. And then he got this other suit and he's like, see, I can do push-ups in this thing. I can go to the gym directly right after work. I'm going, why? Like, that's not an actual problem. So why are you making it a problem? So
well, that's interesting. Because when I think polyester and kind of that viscose blend stuff, I see it from the perspective of opening the market into more recycled fabrics. So like people like H&M, they're really developing a lot of stuff. I think it's over in China right now, like how they can print sweaters from just shredded old clothing. And obviously that's much easier to do with a polyester synthetic than a pure wool and still keep it of its highest quality. So I think that's something that is really interesting to me, because if I could make a suit that's like 100% from recycled materials, but still look good, like some of the poly blends look pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. They might not stand the test of time like a wool does, which is why I opt not to have them. But if you're going out and you're buying a suit that you don't necessarily want to stand the test of time, you want it to be a little bit more flashy, a little bit more now centric, go for it. But if you can find a way to add an element of sustainability or recycled into it, I think that's a cool avenue we could go with polyesters, not just polyester for polyester's sake.
Yeah. So one brand that you and I have had experience with is Stant. It's a personalized shirt company, and we're actually both wearing Stants today, which is kind of interesting. So I'm actually wearing a Stant, and so I didn't actually design this as a Winchester shirt. And those of you who may not know what a Winchester shirt is, people call them lawyer shirts, or it's just a pattern shirt, or just the body of the fabric is different from the collar and cuffs, because that's just a simple white fabric. So the collar I felt was a little small, and so I reached out to our full custom line and just got new collars and cuffs and designed it that way. But specifically with them, they came out with some swatches where it was a cotton poly blend, but the polyester actually came from old recycled plastic bottles.
Yeah, that's cool.
which I thought was kind of interesting. I still wouldn't purchase it, but one of the things, like, they've got some swatches which is called their sustainable line, and I think that's kind of neat to do. It's a great talking point. It's much better for the environment, because unfortunately the fashion industry can be really terrible on our planet, with dyes that are going into drinking waters, and things being made in a sweatshop for pennies on the dollar, and then people die from the chemicals or the harsh working environments. So little steps in that direction, I think, definitely help. I was on a Clubhouse conversation once where there was a lady who had been in the industry for a while, and she said things can be sustainable, but they may not always be 100% ethical, because if things were 100% ethical and sustainable, a simple Hanes white t-shirt would cost $4,000.
Well, and that's the sad reality of it. Because and there's also a difference, yeah, between sustainable and ethical and fair trade. Like, which that's a deeper issue we could get into about like, well, what's fair trade? Like if $1 a day
Exactly.
in one country consists of a livable wage, just because to you it doesn't sound livable, doesn't mean that they're not getting by.
Exactly.
I mean, there are some people that are making $1 a day that isn't a livable wage, but that's a conversation to be had at a different time.
Yeah.
But no, I think that's interesting. So why wouldn't you wear a shirt made out of recycled bottles if it felt good and looked good? Just because it's not pure cotton or
Yeah. I
organic
mean,
fabrics?
I think I'm open to something like that.
Why do you hate the
In my,
environment is what I'm saying.
well, because I just do. Uh, it's just in my experience, anything polyester has just not been good. It's neither breathed nor performed well. I mean, outside of kicking out the wrinkles, but the biggest thing is comfort and breathability.
Mm-hmm.
And it does both of those less than adequate.
So
So
so if I showed you a fabric that competed with wool and did better than wool, you would switch.
yeah, but I don't think that's possible.
But if it was, you would switch.
I'd be open to it. I'd have to see it and
Interesting.
experience it first.
Well, because the reason why I'm prying here is because I'm in the same situation where I don't know if I would switch to full polyester if it performed well, it looked better, it lasted longer. Um, and it might be a flaw in my thinking because and I don't want to like make this like it sounds emotional, like I've been hurt by polyester, but like I've had such a bad experience with like the JC Penney's and the Macy's suits that
Yeah.
to me it's almost like there's no way it could ever be good. And
Yeah.
it kind of puts me in a point where anytime I see it, I just write it off to where like, well, am I even trying it to see if it's any good?
Absolutely.
Because yeah, the same custom company that I have has the line of polyester blend stuff, and they look cool, they feel good, but I just write it off because I'm like, oh, polyester, who wants to pay for that? But maybe if I got something and tried it and got it made in their highest quality, maybe it would perform well. I don't know. And then my other question is am I buying it as an investment piece? Is this going to be a suit in my closet for 15 years? Or, I mean, I'm going on 5 years from really updating my wardrobe, and I'm ready to get rid of just about everything that I own because I want something new. And plus, I bought cheaper, so they're wearing out faster. But it's like, am I okay with updating it every 5 years if it starts to wear out? Because I am paying less for it. So I think I come from at least that perspective, which is kind of enlightening on this podcast that we're doing. Of am I giving it a chance, or am I just writing it off because of the nasty P word that it is?
One thing that you brought up that was a good perspective, talking about, are you buying this as an investment piece? I think you and I have come from enough experience where we are honing in our tastes more, and our taste specifically in quality. How I got into dressing well and more intentionally is,
One second.
I bought on eBay.
I gotta hit record again. Uno momento, uno momento. This is great stuff. Great stuff. Let's not stop.
Good stuff. Great stuff. The best stuff I've ever heard. Good stuff. So Lewis and I were at a point where we didn't have a lot of disposable income, if any disposable income, but we wanted to buy nice clothes. Specifically for me, I, dipped my foot into eBay, different local thrift stores and consignment stores. And there are still even a few pieces that I've bought from other thrift stores that I've kept to this day. And it helped me understand quality. It helped me understand what style, what fabrics. It helped me educate myself when it came to taste level and when it came to what I truly wanted. And it also helped me understand commerce better, because I would buy it, sell it for either what I bought it for or sell it for more. So I'd either break even or, make a profit. And so early on, it was just a lot of just flipping. If it didn't work, I just donated it, or very few times did I throw something away unless it was ripped. But even now, like old socks that I have, I use those whenever I polish my shoes, or it's just something I try to repurpose if I can. So I'll buy a shirt if it's got the body has the same material as the collar and the cuffs. I look at it and I go, will that be a good Winchester shirt? So whenever the collar and the cuffs wear out, is it going to look with a white collar and cuffs? So I'm already thinking, a couple years down the line.
Well, and I think talking about moving forward and having a reusable wardrobe where it can either be beat to crap for 10 years and it still lasts, or finding a way, like you said, to reuse things is going to be of the utmost important. One, not only just as a good practice for the environment, but also I think we're seeing this generation of young people really putting a high value on that. So I think from like a retail sales perspective, we need to have some kind of offering that is
Mm-hmm.
what is the end goal from the retail perspective past when they take it out of your shop.
Yeah.
So, and I was talking to you about this a little bit earlier. There's a company in the UK that is making biodegradable sweaters. So when you're done with it and it's old and trashy, you either throw it away or you bury it in the ground and it's going to decompose and not leave any waste.
Mm-hmm.
Which is something that I think is cool and something we need to get into a little bit more to kind of, and I don't want to just say it as like a marketing tactic, like your actions actually have to prove that you're trying to help. But I think one of the steps is the luxury stuff. And when I say luxury, I'm not talking about Gucci, Dolce Gabbana, like the high end heritage brands that you're just paying for the name. I'm talking about stuff that me and Austin sell that are investment pieces. So even though the fabric might not be 100% recycled or all of this stuff, it's at least a garment that you're buying and you're keeping for at least 5 to 6 years. In my mind, is just the first step in sustainability is buying better clothing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think other things, like you said, is finding ways. And I think what's really going to be interesting is seeing how stores implement reused clothing.
Absolutely.
Something that I've been kicking around as a what am I trying to say? As a offering for my stuff is like a buyback program. So if you buy a shirt from me, you buy a suit from me, you buy socks, whatever it is, you wear, well, maybe not socks, that can get gross. But normal clothing, you wear it, it either wears out, you get a hole, you don't like it, there's something we can't do to make it fit you, you can sell it back to us for a store credit. And then from there, we either take your garment, we upcycle it to resell, we donate it to somebody who could use it, or what I'm even thinking, if it's too far gone, we shred it up and use it to make insulation for winter jackets that we will then produce and sell, which I think is a really cool end-to-end cycle of a garment. So you buy a shirt from me. Yes, it's a little bit more expensive. Yes, it's a better material. You'll have it for 5 years, but say in 5 years, it gets old, it gets tattered, you can't fix it anymore. You've already had the collars replaced. You bring it in, you get an extra $5 off your next order. I shred it, shove it in a jacket, and that shirt has a whole new life as insulation. Those are the kind of things that I'm excited to see companies address and offer, but also mean it, instead of just being like, oh, we're renewable. Well, why? Because our website says we are.
So Gates Leese, a famous writer for the New York Times and just an amazing dresser, does that a lot with his clothes. He goes, he spends a lot of money on clothes, but a lot of times he'll reface the lapels, especially like the collar. When that gets worn out, he'll take it to his tailor and have them reface the back with a new material. So, if it was like a gray flannel, he'll replace, or like the edge of the lapel or the back of it with a brown felt or a brown suede or a velvet or something like that to completely change the garment around and give it a new life, which I think is really cool to view your clothes and think, okay, like what would that be in 10, 15, 20 years, whenever that wears out? Like, how could I change that up? And so I've specifically done that with shirts. I've got a couple jackets that I probably could adjust a little bit, but I've taken actually old some of my dad's old shirts and cut them up and made pocket squares out of them.
That's pretty
And then
cool.
yeah, so it's cool because it was my dad's shirt, but then they're just they're old scrap pieces of cloth that I can use for dish rags or something like that. And it's just trying to reduce waste as much as possible. I mean, me doing a periodic shirt isn't going to change the world,
Yeah.
but if more people do like-minded things, it's gonna help a lot more people.
1,000%. And I think an interesting question to ask the audience is, how long term do you think when buying an article of clothing? Like, are you thinking of
Mm-hmm.
that 20-year? Like, because like in 20 years, I'm going to be 44 years old. That's like a freaking weird concept to be like, am I going to wear this suit when I'm 44 years old? Like, I don't even know where I'm going to be when I'm 44 years old, let alone at 26. So
Yeah.
I think that's an interesting concept because I would like to do that because yes, things might change. You might be in a different area of life, but your clothing can still be consistent. Like a blue suit's a blue suit, a gray suit's a gray suit. A nice window pane blue blazer is a nice window pane blue blazer. Why would I not buy something that I can then have?
Yeah.
Like that's just a weird concept. So if anyone's listening and you're on a platform where you can leave a comment on this, I don't know if we can on like Apple or whatever it is. Leave a comment and let us know what your thinking is in terms of how far in advance you think about clothing.
Well, one thing that used to happen a lot, especially, in the early 20th century, is a lot of suits were passed down from the father to the son, from the son to the oldest son, and then goes to the youngest son. And it was cool to know that like that was a heritage piece, like one, it had a function. Some people weren't in a position to buy new clothes, but in my opinion, I think it's cooler to have that heritage and have those pieces that you kind of pass down. And if you're a similar fit of your brother or your father, it's a cool piece. It's like, hey, this has been in my family for a long time. So I mean, things are just getting more expensive now. It's just, especially after the last year and a half that we've had.
Yep.
I I think we actually might start seeing heritage pieces kind of revitalized a little bit because you're spending so much money on it. So you're thinking of yourself, but you're also thinking, like my kid might have this one day.
Yeah. And something else thinking about vintage and old style. I don't know if this is a correlation to this. I think it'd be something interesting to research. But something that I've noticed with people back in the day when they dressed is a lot of their clothing was almost just a shell and
Mm-hmm.
then they dressed it up. So like if they had the paper collar, like you kept the base of the shirt and then you just replaced the collar with a new collar and it looked fine. Or like
Yeah.
when you were really dressing up, you would have like one of those shirt bibs that make your shirt look perfectly pressed and perfect, but it just came right across. It's kind of like the Zoom calls of today. Maybe we get back
Yeah.
into selling shirt bibs. But like those things were removable and the shirt underneath was just a nice white shirt, but it didn't have to be like super perfect. If there was a stain on it, yeah, it's cool, but you got this bib that you would wear over top of it.
Yeah.
And then the outer jackets and stuff were just made of such a high quality wool that like no matter what you did to it, it was going to look good every time you wore it. So I think that's another thing that is interesting. Maybe it's not intentional. Maybe that's more wasteful to like throw away your collars after so many washes instead of washing them and keeping them. But you're able to keep that shirt longer because who cares what the shirt looks like underneath your jacket? If you're not taking your jacket off, you're only seeing like not even a quarter of the shirt.
So through one of our, we actually talked about shirts one time on our clubhouse calls, and if you guys ever want to jump on one, feel free to jump on the Classic Menswear Club on Clubhouse every Tuesday night, 6:30 Central, 7:30 Eastern time. We always jump on. We have great conversations. We actually had a bespoke tailor jump on once, and we talked about the removable white collar and cuffs, and we think of it like, oh yeah, that's the 80s Wall Street, it's like the power shirt. It's like that's what the yuppies wear. Well, if you think about it, in the late 1800s or early 1900s, that was actually 1900s, the 1900s, that was actually the the common man's shirt because he couldn't buy new shirts all the time. So he had to get the removable collar and cuff. So, his wife would typically wash that. So whenever he would like sweat through or get something new, he would just get a new collar. So I think that's, definitely less wasteful. And I've got a couple clients that we're getting to the point where those shirts might need to be replaced. And, I tell them like, hey, listen, we can put a new collar and cuff on this and it makes it a more dressier, more elegant looking shirt. And so not everyone is a huge fan of it. I mean, they love it on me when I wear it, but that's something that they're going, oh, that's just not really my thing. So I think just for me wearing it, it inspires them to think about their clothing in a different way. But it's also, I mean, it's also got a function of you're continuing to wear the same shirt that you invested, hopefully a good amount of money in it to get a good cloth to keep it going.
Well, and on the point of trends, I think what our job is as retailers and clothiers and menswear enthusiasts is we are supposed to be the gatekeeper of the trends. And what I mean by that is people come in trusting us that we've tried things, we understand things. So whether they're seeing it online, these magnetic button shirts, they can come to
Yep.
us and be like, which is also giving me kind of a reason to want to try some of the polyester stuff, is because if someone came to me and was like, how does this wear? I'd be like, I have no clue. I don't wear it. But
Yeah.
as the clothier, even though it's not my favorite, it's not really what I would recommend, I should at least have an opinion on it.
Yeah.
And I think that's our job, because if somebody's coming to me and they're like, oh, I've been seeing all over Instagram, collarless shirts are in. And I'm like, yeah, I've been seeing that too. I had one, I tried one. I hate it. It wears like crap. Here's why you don't want it. And then you can make a recommendation. And then from there, if they still want to try it, it's then my job to service them. But I think we do need to be on top of these trends and trying them to an extent, to be able to have a
Just to be better, well versed.
exactly 100%. So, dang, I might need to go buy a polyester soon.
I
Not like I'd
wouldn't
be
go that
mad.
far.
Well,
Yeah.
I do want to try one of the blends. Even if I just buy it in a standard size for like try-ons or something, I at least want to know how it fits. Like I'll buy it in my size or something and just be like,
Yeah.
do I even like, is this even worth it? Like, should I just throw the book away? Or should I try and use it? I don't know. But we'll see. I did get a
Yeah.
new blue blazer. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, that one that I ordered at a 38 instead of a,
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah.
think I'm just going to keep it. I might post it tonight to see if there's any takers, because I could use the money. Um,
That looks good.
shameless plug. Send me money, guys. No, but if I could sell it, I will. It's like a 30. It's more like a 40 short, I would say.
Yeah.
Because of the tweaks I made on it. But if I don't sell it, I'm not going to be mad keeping it, because the custom suit I bought is the exact same fabric, but in brown. So it would be kind of a cool blazer piece to kind of wear with that.
Yours does look really cool. I'm so glad to see you're finally in custom, baby.
I need to F, baby, custom. It's a Monday, baby.
Steak, baby, steak. F. Yes.
I know we're probably so late on that meme, but I love it.
Dude, it doesn't get old in my opinion. It's God, that guy.
Baby, it's a Monday. Monday, baby. F, steak. Make the day what you want it to, baby. F.
But what I think is funny is that like that specific guy he's like, here's the camera and he looks like 4 inches below the camera. It doesn't even look like he's looking at himself. It looks like he's looking at the bottom of his phone.
He's reading a script.
The worst script I've ever read. Anyway, if you don't know what we're talking about, that's a guy on TikTok. I don't remember his name, but he's super entertaining because his content is so weird.
Depending on what the fair use laws are, maybe we'll throw a little snippet on for the YouTube watchers. But yeah, I'm so happy with my custom. That's the rabbit trail we got off of.
We did.
But I need to get another one soon, because like I've come to this point where I want to wear the suit every day. And I'm going to end up beating the crap out of it if I don't have something to alternate it with. So
absolutely.
Plus, I want something that's a little bit more dedicated for the winter, keep me a little bit warmer once snow comes, because I know it's going to be about like, it'll probably be a month of me to pull the trigger, and then it'll probably be about another month for it to come in. So we'll be right in the middle of fall. So,
you know what's crazy is that you live in a much more cooler climate, and I probably have more winter clothes than you.
Probably.
It's a problem.
I have 2 sport coats that are like a heavier wool. I do have a ton of like winter overcoats, which I will brag about. One I bought for like $5, Salvation Army, and I'm in love with it.
Nice.
But yeah, my winter suiting, because my mind, again, coming from the world of, and we're not really even talking about trends. We're talking about quality clothing again. That's all we ever talk
True.
about. But coming from my world, I was like, I want an all season suit because I don't want a suit that I have to hang up in the winter. And I don't want to have a suit that I have to hang up in the summer. Because that's extra money that I don't get to wear. Like there's months I don't get to wear it. I want to wear the suit every single day because that's the way I am. However, what I have learned over the years is a man with a seasonal wardrobe is a better dressed man.
Absolutely.
Because every season it seems like you got something new on. You're always wearing something different. Even though it's the same suit you've had for 5 years. But if you have a nice heavy blue navy wool suit that you only pull out in the winter, it's going to look way different than your summer linen suit because people can tell the difference. So even though it is a little bit more money to build that wardrobe, having the diversity makes it look like you have a much bigger wardrobe than you actually do. So I'm going to try and invest in a few key pieces that I only wear in the winter, I only wear in the summer. Because who wants to see the same brown suit on me all year round? I don't. My wife probably does because we'd save money, but nobody else does.
I mean, you still rock it.
I'll still rock it. I mean, I'll always buy all seasons because there's some that are just so timeless. But
true,
you need to have a versatile wardrobe. And why are we talking about versatile wardrobes? We're talking about trends. What else did you see in the market, Austin? Well, what else was in the market?
Well, I mean, I still think that goes hand in hand with what we're talking about, where, you know, whether it was sportswear, whether it was clothing, whether it was athleisure, you know, these things, I think we're beginning to see far more quality garments and quality pieces as opposed to, you know, just trendy, cool stuff. I mean, we're starting to see slightly longer jackets and, you know, wider peak lapel on jackets. I think the narrow stuff is finally going away. Thank goodness. It just, to me, I just don't see how that flatters most people. It's not. So I think we're beginning to see more proportional looks, but better fabrics. I mean, there's one brand that we work with, and they do a fused garment, but they have some E. Thomas fabrics. I think they had one that was actually a Drago. I think it's Drago cloth. Yeah, Drago. But you know, they're using better cloths, which I think is great because they're fantastic. Even though it's a fused garment, it's still a better cloth. So, I mean, if that's all that you have, man, buy the best cloth that you can.
Absolutely. And not to keep this podcast too long, but there is a few other things I want to get to. We do pay our editor by the hour, so we're going to wrap this up. We started the topic on what are some things you're excited for, and we've got off this whole podcast has just been talking about really great stuff happening. What are some things you're not nervous about, but not super excited about? I mean, we kind of touched on it with the polyesters becoming a thing, but
yeah.
What else are you seeing that is coming up and it's going to be hard to fight, but it's like, okay, it's coming.
Stretch is a big thing for men now, you know, stretch and comfort. And my concern when it comes to spandex and those types of cloths is the durability of it. And there's, you know, a couple brands that I've seen that say like, oh, it's got 100% retention rate and it always goes back to where it is. I'm going, how can you fully guarantee that? You know, that's something that I'm hesitant on. So that's something I'm learning as well. Like, if it's a product that we sell, like, let me understand this better. If I'm cautious, like, I don't want to be cautious because then it's not going to be good. So that's why I'm trying to understand those things better. If that's something I don't utilize regularly, I want to understand it better for the client who has a deep value in that. And that's something that he truly needs. So that's something that I am just cautious about and want to be more studied on when it comes to those man-made materials.
Yeah. I would definitely agree with that. And a thing that I've been noticing is I guess it goes hand in hand with like the gimmicky products we're seeing on Instagram. Is I
Yeah.
feel like so many people who don't understand menswear are trying to be like the next Bonobos or something like that, where they're like, "Oh, this is revolutionary. Two guys who just don't know anything about menswear are getting into it." And not saying you have to know a lot about it to get into the industry, but like you're seeing products that are just straight up stupid
True.
for ridiculous prices just because somebody wants to get in on the game of like, oh, I did something innovative. I'm the next Uber or Airbnb for men's shirts. It's like, no, because I think a lot of guys are going to get cluttered with crap from social media, like startups that have way too much money for their own good for a crap
Yeah.
product is gonna litter the playing field, which I mean it's capitalism. I love it. I'm not gonna knock that, but someone's gonna get burned on $120 shirt that's trash. That when they come into me, they're going to be looking for a discount because
Yeah.
I sell a quality shirt that's basic, and they're like, "Well, I just spent all this money on this trash shirt. What can you do for me?" And it's like, don't buy the trash shirt in the first place.
Well, what's kind of crazy is that, a lot of guys are very brand loyal. So it's a brand that we talked about before, Mizzen and Main. I wasn't a fan of it, but guys identified with that brand and they bought it. So it was a $128 shirt,
Yeah.
A casual dressy sports shirt, and guys bought it. So I sold it to the guys who they absolutely loved it. Fantastic. If these are the qualities that you want in your shirt, boom, this is perfect for you. But we ended up picking up this, well, once they went direct to consumer and, cut out men's specialty stores, we picked up this one fabric that's a 92% cotton, 8% spandex, and it's only $20 more.
Oh.
And super comfortable, very, very breathable. And it's like the Mizzen and Main shirt, just better. It feels
Yeah.
like a cotton shirt that performs like that. And so a lot of times I would tell people like, hey, yeah, it's $20 more, but I think you get a much bigger value. And I even talked to people who work there in the past, like they don't work there anymore, but they're like, we do put a lot of marketing. The product isn't the best, but people really resonate with it. I said, oh, absolutely. People are very knowledgeable of the product, and they know and they love it. But really, what are you getting? Are you getting the best quality with that?
Well, that's where it all kind of gets subjective to a point. Like, what is the best quality of something? To somebody, yeah, like to me, it might not feel the best because I'm used to natural fabrics, but to the person who's not used to natural fabrics, it fits better or it fits the
True.
best. So to the loyal followers, Mizzen and Main is hitting every single mark and they're the perfect shirt company. So that's where I think we get into the nuances of like, oh, well, that's kind of subjective and in terms of quality and all that. But um, no, I think it is interesting how loyal. I think branding is going to become another big thing that companies are going to need to
Mm-hmm.
do. Every company, I believe, is going to need an in-house brand name. Because you're going to see the Mizzens and Mains, you're going to see the Johnson and Murphys, you're going to see the Colhans all leave, and they're going to be like, "I'm going to sell online, or we're going to start our own little pop-up shops, and we don't need you anymore." And any
Yep.
retailer who doesn't have their own set style, or even as far as like going to a cut, like having your own cut of clothing, is going to be vital, or you're going to be replaced by these big companies that can just sell right online, 2-day delivery, free returns. Like, why would I go into a men's shop? I totally like name plugged you there. I didn't mean that. I just
I
generic
appreciate that though.
men's shops. Um, why would
A
I go
men's
into one?
store.
Yeah, why
Yeah.
would I go into a gentleman's closeteur um, to buy a product I can get online cheaper and faster
Mm-hmm.
and a larger variety of? I don't have to go in and only pick at their 5 shirts that they have that are the off brand. Like, no,
Yep.
but if I go in and I'm going to use the man shop now, and I love the man shop shirts, their sport shirts are the best. They fit so well. Yeah, they might be the same manufacturer, Mrs. and Main, who cares? But it has your name on it, and you're creating a connection with somebody that now leads them back into the store.
Well, that's why private label is really good with men's specialty, even though it may be
Yeah.
the same manufacturer. Not everyone's going to choose the exact same cut, the exact same style. A lot of times it's going to be, like for me, we've got this one company that we work with that, we could do a private label with. And private label is great because if this is something that identifies with your core customer, you are reaching them directly. And sometimes that company's like, listen, we want you to private label. Don't use our name. Like, we're here to help you succeed. So I think that's something that can really benefit store owners moving forward, is because it's, everyone has the Peter Millards, everyone has the Johnny O's, everyone's got the Faraday, the Travis Matthews, which is good to have those brands to bring people in, but also the brands that they're not going to get elsewhere. You're not going to see this in other places.
Yeah, you're exclusive. You don't have to bend to the rules of all these retailers. And not to, it is a little bit of an upfront cost for the retailer because you're spending a little bit to make it private. But the plus side is just way, way bigger than anyone is probably thinking of at this point. I feel like there's something else I was going to say with that, but now it has slipped my mind. My mind has been slipped, but
to kind of help, land this plane, I think guys are warming up to the idea of exclusivity and, making, I don't know, it's not about luxury, because a lot of guys don't want to necessarily be seen. They'd rather kind of like sit back, but if they get something, they want to make sure that it's good. And so I think guys are becoming more open to like, oh, I can only get this here, because guys like having a guy. It's like, oh, your car's not working. Oh, I got a guy. Hey man, you want some cool shirts? Hey, I got a guy. There's something cool of like having the exclusive, like, hey, that's my guy. And when that person recommends you to one of their friends, you've built accountability, you've built trust with that person, you've built a reputation with them. So that's cool. It's like, oh, hey, like, you're Carl's guy, right? Yeah. He says good things about you. Let's do something together. There's something cool about that exclusive. Exactly. That there's something cool about that exclusive relationship.
Yeah. But exactly. And I mean, coming from a position of not being extremely gay, we sure do have a lot of guys in our lives. And by extremely, I mean not at all. But I think that's funny how especially straight guys, we got a guy. I got a guy. You should go see my guy. We love our guys. But that joke didn't land quite as well.
It's all good. I was like, where are you going with this? I was like, oh, I see what you did there.
I am not gay, guys, and I don't know where I'm going, but you should know that. No, I'm just kidding. That's how that joke felt like it was landing. But I do remember what I was going to say, talking about brand loyalty. Just as much as people can be brand loyal, they are just as easily brand resentful, I guess you could say. The amount of people that come in and talk to me and they're like, oh, you got stretchy shirts. I love like how they fit, but I hate Under Armour's fit. I hate Under Armour. I'll never buy Under Armour. Or I'll never buy Nike. Oh, they support people kneeling for the anthem. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Like people can become very unbrand loyal, which is a great section in the market. To where if you do sell the same product as Mizzen and Main, but Mizzen and Main does something that ticks off a portion of the population, your brand could very well fill that gap if you fit a different customer base. So I think that's something also to keep in mind as people are just loyal, whether it's against something or for something. So if you can at least offer something to give them the opportunity to be loyal to or against, you're in a better spot. But yeah, I think we should wrap this up a little bit.
Yeah. And again, it's as two young guys stepping into ownership in, the menswear space and more of the specialty shop area in that arena. You need to have you need to kind of be exclusive to a point, because sorry, I was going to pause, seeing what you were doing. Okay. But as two young guys stepping into that arena, you have to truly understand what your guy wants and really what he needs, and not you're trying to sell him something, but a lot of times he'll be communicating one thing like, oh, I need this. No, you actually need this based off what you said, where you're going. You have to be, a really good listener, and also understand that sometimes you're going to fight the big brand of, if they can sell directly to your customer without selling to you, who's going to sell to the customer, they're going to do that. So you've got to separate yourself. That was the main place I was trying to go, of like separating yourself. Like people come in like, hey, why would I go to you when I go to Men's Warehouse? Why would I go to you and not the mall? Listen, if it truly comes down to price, we may not be your place. And that's not
Yeah.
saying you are less than. It's if you value a $200 suit much better than a $700 suit, I'm wasting your time by explaining why this is better for you. But if you're going, you know what, the $200 suit just doesn't necessarily do anything for me anymore, then, if you sell that experience, you sell them on the experience of what this is going to do and how it's going to benefit them. That's when you win. That's when you benefit the customer, and you're growing that relationship so much better.
Absolutely. And I would also even say, from the consumer point of view, is like finding those small independent stores that have a line or a brand. Try them out, give them a shot. I think we're seeing that anyways. I see like there's quite a polarization. Like there are the guys that are like, I just want to buy Amazon. That's all I need. It can be cheap. I just want it here. And I just need something to put on my body. But then you're also seeing the resurgence of people that are like, I want the experience. So I would also just encourage people who are on the buying end of things, of if you feel like you want something better, try somebody who's not a big chain store. Maybe you will find a great experience there. Because I do see that becoming more and more so as we become more and more polarized. So get out of the middle and pick a side.
And if you're in the Erie area, look up Lewis at Aspiring Gent. That's his Instagram handle. Also, check out Primo Tailoring for any of your alteration needs.
Yes, and if you are in Texas looking for quality menswear, primotailoring.com does sell suits. So check us out.
I knew you were going to do that. I was like,
sorry.
I'm going to set him up, be so nice, and he's going to not do the same thing.
Villain. I'm okay with that. No, but do check out Austin. How often are you at the shop? Is it the Man's with an S? Man's shop?
Yes, the Man's shop.
Check out the Man's shop. How often are you there? Like every day?
Pretty much.
So if you don't want to just follow the guy on Instagram, even though that'd be really cool because he has great content, follow him in person. He goes to work.
Don't actually follow me in person. That's creepy.
He would appreciate it.
In Texas, a lot of people carry. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Hey, follow him, but buy clothing from him also. You would appreciate that. If my stalker was a big client, I would be totally cool.
I don't know about that one.
Be like, hey, you're always here. You might as well buy a suit every time you show up. Be a rich man.
You would be a rich man. Well, guys, as always, so grateful for your support. Please, if you find us on YouTube, Instagram, our podcast, anything, please follow. We really appreciate the support. We're actually talking about building out a Patreon. So if you want to support us there, definitely help us out there. That would help out because, our editor does a great job. We're really trying to up our quality level. We've been doing it on a very measly budget for the last couple of years, but we're really getting serious about this. So if you'd like to support us there, hit that link. I think it probably should be up by the time this episode's out, but definitely go help us out there. That would be absolutely fantastic. We appreciate it. And even if it's just a simple thing as just following us, that really helps. That really helps with the algorithm and everything like that. So please go follow us individually. I think I'm done plugging ourselves. That was probably too much, maybe a little.
No, it's okay. I don't mind being plugged. But yeah, guys, enjoy this content. Let us know what you'd like to hear next. And in the meantime, have a wonderful day.
We're not going to sing on the next episode, I promise.
You gotta be able to play this. All right.